Hey, this is Billy Turner here. I just wanted to do a little video reflection of the kind of my clinical experience as a sum and total as we're wrapping up here with the semester at Peoria High School. So I got a couple prompts that I'd like to discuss. The first one being the most beneficial and the least beneficial aspects of the clinical experience that I did this semester. There are a lot of really beneficial aspects. The first one that I think I feel like most of the other interns had to really experience was the ability to build a really good working relationship with a lot of your students before you even step foot into the classroom next semester, which is not something that a lot of the other you know, students that will be teaching next semester have the opportunity to do. They walk into a classroom, maybe even a couple weeks into the semester already, and are expected to kind of slowly take into the role with these students they don't know very well. Whereas we, as the PDS interns, we get to build relationships with our students over the course of the semester. We get to teach a little bit to them, so they kind of get a little bit of a feel of how we will teach in the future for them. And overall, I think that's the big thing, is that we're able to connect with the students before the teaching part comes along. On kind of the same token, we do also get to meet with our CTs and really connect with our CTs much earlier than the other students that'll be student teaching next semester. So that's really good. I have a really good relationship with my CT. We have a lot of good conversations about things that I've done, things that he's doing, different professional meetings that we go to, things that are going on in class, just a plethora of things that we really get the opportunity to talk about and really get multiple perspectives on a lot of issues, which I think is awesome. So it's going to be really good for me when I have some issues next semester or questions next semester, or just ideas that I want him to discuss. I feel like he's a person that I can really go to and trust with that respect. Um, Least beneficial aspects. That's pretty tough. Um, I feel like I really can't put a finger on something that I felt like was very not beneficial, I guess. The good thing for me was being in my methods course. I got to see one of my class periods every day of the week. My seventh period trig and rich class I saw every day of the week. So that's a class that I will definitely have no problem picking up next semester. Um, but as far as least beneficial aspects, I really can't think of any. I feel like being in the room and getting to do a little bit of everything, you know, observing, obviously, uh, grading, co-teaching, making copies, teaching. Basically, everything I did, I felt like was very beneficial. I don't feel like there's something that really gets knocked way down on the totem pole to the point where I feel like it's worth even saying that it was less beneficial than everything else. Um, I did. So my second question I kind of already touched upon a little bit. And that was about my relationship with my CT. We get along pretty well. Like I said before, we really get the opportunity to share a lot of ideas with one another and really have some good discussions about what's going on in the classroom, what's going on with things that maybe I had done in the classroom that he had done in the classroom. We had a good discussion today, actually, about the uh, a member of the CEC came in today to discuss with us a little bit about Common Core and implementing the Common Core um, within our assessments and how we can, also kind of tie in uh, Webb's depth of knowledge into our assessments to kind of make sure that we're checking for, you know, where we have questions in our assessments that kind of range in the hierarchy of questioning levels of questioning. So it's cool. We get to have a really good conversation about Common Core. We get to have a really good conversation where we both kind of learned things from each other, which I think is obviously really important. Is that we both feel like we have something to gain from the other person. Um, we met all the time. I was there 5 days a week, so I saw him every day. Oftentimes, I was Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I was there as much as I could be. Monday, Wednesday, I was typically there after school, even helping tutoring students and stuff like that. And overall, it's just it was a good experience, and I really did get a decent amount of feedback from my CT, and I felt like all things were really good in that respect. Um, then I have to talk about my trusty 3-day teaching forms, which I failed to bring today, so I actually have them to look over a little bit for this reflection. Um, my 3-day teaching was it actually ended up being a 4-day teaching because I did use it for my methods course as well. But overall, it was okay. Matt gave me a pretty decent amount of positive feedback. Uh, he didn't really have a lot of things to really comment on in terms of things that he thought went really really poorly. So that was good. The first day of my lesson was actually the first lesson was actually pretty interesting because our room had been was being worked on during seventh period, which is the period that I taught. We're getting whiteboards installed, so we had to go to a different room, which already is in some ways a recipe for disaster. You have students in a completely different room, and it's a very different room than what we have in terms of structure. It's like almost like a long hallway. It's really echoey. So it was really funny because the room itself was way different. So the students are already kind of out of their element. They're acting a little bit different. And to top it off, the smart board in that room did not work well at all. It was very basically non-functioning, considering every time I pick up a pen and write with it, 10 seconds later, I would go back to the arrow key. So things I had written ended up getting moved around, and it was just kind of a nightmare. And the projector was actually placed on the floor, so it was kind of projecting up, so you couldn't stand anywhere in front of the board, and it was really only good if you're left-handed, and yada yada yada. Basically, the first lesson did not really, because of a lot of things that were out of my control, didn't go as planned. But days 2 through 4 were really good. There are definitely things that I feel like could be improved upon. And Matt kind of mentioned that I think a little bit in these forums too. Just I think like pacing and stuff like that. I really have to get a grasp on what it really means to design a lesson and activities that I feel like are properly paced. Because I either really form something that's a little too a little too quick, or mostly I kind of think I have more time than I really do to do these activities that I had planned. So it's tricky. It's very tricky. But overall, between his feedback on these TSAF forums and also the feedback from my mentor, which I mentioned on my previous like podcast that we posted, that was really good because it was good to hear some of the things that I was doing well, because I was kind of, I thought my lesson went okay, but I definitely thought it was not great by any means. And to get that positive feedback about, the questions that I had asked and the connections that I'd made, but also to see, there's some areas that I definitely need to work on, and I know that, I definitely need to work on making deeper connections within given contexts. Really working on multiple representations within different contexts, and and a variety of things. My questioning still could be better too. I still found myself asking those gut kind of, meaningless yes or no, single word kind of questions, which really could have been replaced by stuff that was a little bit more powerful, a little bit more engaging. So, but overall, the clinical experience has been awesome. It really, really has. The students are great. The faculty is great. My fellow interns at Peoria High School are all awesome, and not at Peoria High too. But it's going to be awesome to know have a kind of like a group of people that I can really rely on in the future if I need it. So, but I think that's all that I really have to say. So I guess I'm signing out. Thanks.